Hello everyone, my name is Vrinda and welcome to Book Nug Chats. So in today's video, I thought about diving into some books by Brandon Sanderson and really getting a taste of the Cosmere universe. I've read so much about his fantasy world building and the magic systems being one of the best there is in the modern era of fantasy books. And I've also seen his books and series being recommended highly on a lot of channels in some of the best fantasy books and series there are. So I was very curious to really try out some of his writings. But before I invested myself into a complete series, because these would be kind of epic high fantasy books, which would require a lot more time and perhaps attention, I thought a good way to do it would be to start off with some standalone fantasy books. And so there are two that I shortlisted on my TBR, which was Tress of the Emerald Sea and The Emperor's Soul. So let's see if these were hits or misses with me. Starting off with Tress of the Emerald Sea, this is a book that I saw recommended a lot everywhere. Everyone was reading this book, everyone was recommending this book as a good place to start for getting into the Cosmere universe. And if you haven't read Brandon Sanderson before, so this is a very cozy, whimsical sort of a fantasy, and I love a good cozy, whimsical fantasy, so I fully went into this expecting to love it. But I started reading this and I actually didn't finish this book. So this may be a little bit of an unpopular opinion perhaps, but it just, there are a couple of reasons why this didn't work for me. One of them was the narrative voice. I think the tone and style of writing in this book is quite unique and different perhaps than even his other books. It's very distinctive and it's highly self-aware, so it is a character in itself. And if I'm not mistaken, this character is Hoyd, who features somewhere in this universe. Because it was so self-aware, it kept pulling me in and out of the story, even though it had a lot of witty quips and thoughts and dialogues in the writing. It didn't allow me to immerse myself into the story, and that's the biggest issue that I had. So I think I read about 35% of the book, and I couldn't continue reading it anymore beyond that, primarily because of this. But the secondary aspect that I didn't connect with were the characters themselves. For me, it's really important that I am able to really care about the characters and connect with them on some level. Even though this is a whimsical fantasy, the characters, I feel they were very simplistic and mundane, and it was self-statedly so. So I understand that it was part of the way this book is, but I just didn't enjoy that. I could not connect with these characters, and I don't think they really ever came out of this very simplistic sort of thinking and being. It was just a very limited space and experience that they had. I didn't read too much beyond when she kind of heads off on her journey. And also the spores things was a little, I don't know, I had a hard time really adapting to this very small, tiny island of a world where there are just spores. So this was unfortunately a miss for me. I think if you like this kind of a tone and style, you would probably enjoy this book. A lot of people have enjoyed this book, but it just wasn't to my taste. Moving on to The Emperor's Soul. Oh my goodness, I absolutely loved this book. This book gave me a real glimpse into what people might mean when they say he writes some of the best magic systems, or in terms of the fantasy world building. This was a novella. It was 176 pages, and it's insane how much depth was packed into this small book, and done successfully so, without info dumping, without it becoming too heavy. The way all the information is revealed through the chapters in layers, it was amazing. This is one of the most brilliant, unique books I have read. It had such an interesting premise. The magic system was so cool, and it was so engaging, and I couldn't, I didn't want to put it down. I almost wish there were more books with I wish there was a series with Emperor's Soul, or wish it was a longer book, but I think it was just so perfect. I would read this book again. The main character, Shai, she is one of the most intelligent, mature, and interesting female main characters I have read. The thing is, most of the books, because they focus so much on romance, or rather, like, I'm reading a lot of books which have a romance subplot, or romance is the main plot. Most of the main characters become defined or by their relationships, or everything about them is seen in context to the relationships or the potential relationships that exist in the world. So it was so refreshing to actually read a character that it wasn't the case with, and she was a badass and she was a criminal, and the thing that I really loved the other main character, Galatona, and the kind of relationship that they share and build through their conversations through the book. It was just so engaging. I thought that the nature of the conversations was very almost philosophical in its tone, and there was a lot of conversation about human nature and art, and the plot and premise of the book itself was so cool and suspenseful. I loved the pace that the story had. I really loved the ending. It was a great climax. I mean, to do what he did in this one small book in 176 pages, it blows my mind. It was amazing. I would recommend this book to anyone and everyone. This is one of the most intriguing books I've read. The characters, the conversations, everything about it. And I really loved seeing how Brandon Sanderson infuses a lot of different cultural influences into his works. And at the end of this book, he spoke about what inspired him to even write this particular magic system, and in terms of like the history of objects, and it was just so fascinating, and I was really immersed, and it was really nice to see elements of the thought process and writing process that goes into writing a book like this. So I loved getting a little insight into that as well. So based on my experience of reading these two books, or half reading one of these, I think Tress of the Emerald Sea is a great cozy whimsical fantasy for anyone who likes this kind of a writing style, and which is more lighthearted and a little humorous perhaps. I think this is a great book to just read in itself. I have had a few discussions with a couple of people. So what I've come to understand is there are some books which do have a more lighthearted tone. So I think these two books display kind of different writing styles of Sanderson. So I would say he has a really great range in that way. Emperor's Soul, I think, had a lot of depth. It was serious. It was beautiful. And so for me, I think the books that are written more so in this style would be to my taste. I think Mistborn and Stormlight Archives, I think most people say that it is kind of falls in this bucket. And then when it comes to Tress of the Emerald Sea, I think people say that Mistborn Era 2 is a little more lighthearted in its characters or writing style, and then even Warbreaker, apparently. So I don't know how similar or different it would be, but I think these are two different kinds of writing styles that Brandon Sanderson explores or infuses into his works. I think that shows an amazing range as an author, and for me it's this. And so the next book I'm going to start reading, I'm convinced, after reading Emperor's Soul, I'm pretty convinced that I would love to get into reading Mistborn, which is something everyone says to start with when you're getting into his Cosmere series. So I'm very excited to do that. But this was it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and subscribe for more content. Thank you.